The first thing that they actually talked about was Apple Music. Apparently Apple Music now has 17 million registered subscribers. That's a pretty huge number. And then they also talked about how iOS 10 improves on Apple Music. And then, shortly after this, something really interesting happened. The new Apple's Twitter account has actually leaked the new iPhone 7 ahead of the announcements. So a few images and videos have appeared on the Twitter account showing the dual camera, the new color, and the iPhone being waterproof as well. Someone's definitely gonna get fired for this. Then, interesting enough, Nintendo has actually released a brand new Mario game for the iPhone. A brand new Mario mobile game exclusive to the iPhone. This is some pretty big news actually, because this would be Nintendo's first mobile Mario game. They also talked a bit about iWork, now supporting real-time collaboration for multiple users. This is awesome, but this is something that Google Docs has had for like years. So yeah, it's nothing new. Then finally we've had the first big announcement, which was in terms of the Apple Watch. So the Apple Watch is the world's #1 best-selling smartwatch, and not only this, but in 2015 the Apple Watch was the second best-selling watch brand in the world, right after Rolex. So yeah, that's pretty impressive. We also briefly covered WatchOS 3.0, which brings new features to the Apple Watch such as instant app launch, messages effects, new watch faces, and new emergency mode. In case you want to know everything that's new in WatchOS 3.0, I actually did an in-depth video just on that, covering every single new major feature. And I left that link in the description box down below in case you're curious to see everything that's new. And then guess what? Pokemon Go is actually coming to the Apple Watch. So you would get notifications on your Apple Watch whenever a Pokemon is nearby or when you hatch an egg and so on. So it's a pretty good companion app for the Pokemon app on your iPhone. Who's still playing Pokemon Go, by the way? Let me know in the comments. And then they finally announced the second generation Apple Watch, the Apple Watch 2. Well, it's actually not called the Apple Watch 2, it's actually called Apple Watch Series 2. Okay, so what's new with the Apple Watch 2? Well, the first thing is improved water resistancy. So just as I predicted in my previous videos, you can now officially swim with the Apple Watch. And interesting enough, it's actually water resistant of depths up to 50 meters, not 5 meters, 50 meters. That's ridiculous. The previous Apple Watch and multiple smartphones are resistant up to 1.5 meters of water or even up to 1 meter like the Apple Watch 1 was. This is up to 50 meters. There's also a new mechanism inside the speaker that can actually eject the water outside the Apple Watch. Yeah, this watch basically spits water. In terms of other special features, unfortunately we don't have any new sensors. However, we do have a built-in GPS this time, and the display is actually twice as bright as before. So now it has a maximum brightness of 1000 nits. According to Apple, this is the brightest display they've ever made. So the Apple Watch 2 is going to be even more readable outdoors. The Apple Watch 2 also comes with a brand new Apple S2 processor, which just as I predicted in my What to Expect video, it's now up to 50% faster than the S1. We also have some brand new Apple Watch bands, some new Hermes bands, and then we also have a brand new material Apple Watch. Now this is not titanium like I believe, however it's something really interesting, it's ceramic. So this is how it looks, it's white, and yeah, it's more expensive than the Sport model and even the stainless steel model. So it's basically between the stainless steel and the gold model. But yeah, what do you guys think about this model of the Apple Watch? I think it looks really awesome. Also, one thing to point out, the gold Apple Watch seems to be dead now. On Apple's website, if you go to the edition section, the only Apple Watch edition watch that you can actually buy is this new ceramic option. They've also partnered with Nike to release this Apple Watch, the special edition Nike Plus Apple Watch Sport model. It comes with this really cool looking band, and you also get this custom watch face which was made specifically for runners. And when you start a day, you will get this message: going out for a run, yes or no, just do it. So yeah, this version of the Apple Watch actually motivates you to go running as often as you can. So yeah, I think it's a pretty good idea, and it also looks pretty sick. What do you guys think? So this is basically everything in terms of the Apple Watch 2. A dual-core processor, display that's twice as bright as before, water-resistant up to 50 meters of depth, that's probably the most insane feature, built-in GPS, and that's pretty much it, because WatchOS 3, you will be getting that on the first generation Apple Watch as well. The Apple Watch 2, well actually the Apple Watch Series 2 will start at $369, so actually $100 more expensive than a current generation Apple Watch. But then guess what? Apple has done something that I actually believed, and I've said this multiple times in my previous videos, that I don't think Apple will ever do. They also kept the first generation Apple Watch, but they bumped the processor and the RAM, so yeah, you basically have the same performance on the Apple Watch 1 as on the Apple Watch 2. The only differences are that on the Apple Watch 2 you get a GPS, you get a twice as bright display, and a water resistance up to 50 meters from 1.5, so that's pretty much it. I personally don't think it's worth it. And finally, let's move on to what you've all been waiting for, the new iPhone, the iPhone 7. Now before getting to the iPhone 7, Apple reported that 1 billion iPhones have been sold since the introduction of the iPhone back in 2007. Multiply that by 7, actually I think it's 7.2. And yeah, you have the entire Earth's population. Next up, they briefly talked about iOS 10 and all of its new features, especially HomeKit. So more and more HomeKit accessories will start shipping. And if you want to get any smart accessory that would work with your iPhone, then be sure to look for this sticker on the box. Works with Apple HomeKit. And now finally the iPhone 7. So this is how the iPhone 7 looks like. This is the brand new glossy black color, and by the way, it's not called piano black anymore, it's now called jet black. And then we also have a second new color. This is just black, so it's a matte version, a non-glossy version of black. The second iPhone 7 feature that Apple talked about was the home button. Well, the lack of the home button actually. So the home button is still there, but it's not clickable anymore. It uses the haptic engine that's inside the Apple Watch and inside the MacBook to give you the impression that you click the home button even though it's not pressable anymore. The next big feature that I talked about was water and dust resistancy. So yeah, the iPhone 7s are now full water and dust resistant. However, the full certification is not IPX7 like on the Apple Watch 1, and like I believed, apparently it's IP67, so 6 means that it still has full dust protection. Unfortunately, it's still a bit behind the S7 and the S7 Edge, both of which come with IP68 water and dust protection. Then they talked about the camera. So the camera is actually the biggest improvement when it comes to the iPhone 7. We now have optical image stabilization on both the iPhone 7 Plus and the regular model, the iPhone 7, the 4.7-inch one. We now have a brand new 6-element lens array on both the iPhone 7 and on the iPhone 7 Plus as well. On the iPhone 7, we have a larger aperture, f1.8 this time, which can actually allow more than 50% more light into the sensor. On my recent rumor series, I believe this would be f1.9, so it's actually a pretty welcome improvement to see that it's f1.8 instead of f1.9. Besides this, the sensor is actually a high-speed sensor this time, so it's 60% faster than before and 30% more efficient. So the low-light photography has been greatly improved, and in addition to this, we now have a quad LED True Tone flash. So this means that the flash itself is 50% brighter, and there's also now a brand new flicker sensor, which should be able to eliminate any light flicker from your shots. There's also a brand new Apple designed image signal processor, which can achieve an astonishing of over 100 billion operations. I believe this was per millisecond. So yeah, that's an insane number. And these are some examples of shots taken with the iPhone 7's camera. Even the low light ones, they look really impressive. I can't wait to test this against my Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge. Really curious to see which one will be the king. Next up, live photos have also been improved. They now support stabilization and editing as well, and then the capture and the editing API have been open to developers, so any developer can make use of them in their apps. Pretty awesome. Now take a look at this. RAW camera support and wide color capture have both been open to the developers. So now apps such as Instagram can actually take raw images. This is not even the standard camera app can do this. Hopefully it will be updated. Now speaking of things that have been updated, the front facing camera, it has been updated, so it's now a 7 megapixel sensor up from 5 megapixels. Never expected anything like 7 megapixels. I did expect to see 8 megapixels, but 7 is just a pretty weird number. You now record 1080p video, so that's pretty awesome. The front-facing camera also supports wide color capture and auto image stabilization. And yeah, these are all the major improvements of the back-facing camera. Again, 12 megapixel camera, optical image stabilization, f1.8 aperture, 6-element lens, a high-speed sensor, that new quad LED True Tone flash, the Apple Design image signal processor, and the wide color gamut, and that's pretty much it. So no 4K video recording at 60 frames per second. I never actually believed that rumor to be true. So let's move on to the iPhone 7 Plus now. So with the iPhone 7 Plus, we do get the dual camera module. So one of the lenses is a wide angle lens, the other one is a telephoto lens. And like I mentioned in my previous videos, the software would combine the images taken by those two cameras, and you would be able to zoom, you would be able to get optical zoom on the iPhone 7 Plus. So the optical zoom factor is actually 2x now, and the level of digital zoom has also been increased up to 10x. So this is how the shot looks without zooming in, and this is how the shot looks by zooming in at max 10x. On the iPhone 7 Plus, there's also a new software feature that combines the images taken by those two cameras, and you would actually be able to add a depth effect. So you'll be able to add that really nice bokeh effect for those really awesome portrait macro shots, but this will unfortunately only work on the iPhone 7 Plus. And by the way, for some weird reason, this feature won't be available at launch day. So Apple will release a future update adding this bokeh feature to the iPhone 7 Plus exclusively. And that's pretty much everything in terms of the iPhone 7's cameras. Next up, the iPhone 7 does come with dual stereo speakers, and the dynamic range has been increased as well, and the headphone jack is gone. Lightning headphones and an adapter would be included inside the box, just as I mentioned in my previous videos. And then we have the brand new Apple headphones, the new Apple AirPods. So these are the new headphones, and the design is pretty interesting. There's a new Apple Design W1 chip inside the iPhone and inside the headphones as well, and you can get up to 5 hours of usage from each single headphone, and they would actually charge from that case. So you have a case, a carrying case, and that case has a battery included, and you just pop those into the case, and that's how the headphones would charge. But then again, you have to charge the case as well. But yeah, it's a pretty cool concept. And the display of the iPhone 7 has also been improved. It's 25% brighter, it also supports wider color gamut, a new DCI-P3 standard just like the new 9.7-inch iPad Pros and the iMac 5K, color management, and yeah, 3Touch is obviously supported. Apparently True Tone is nowhere to be found. And finally, in terms of the performance, the new Apple A10 chip is simply a beast. So it's not a 6-core or a 2-core processor as I believed, it's actually a 4-core processor. So you have 2 high performance cores and 2 low performance cores, and depending on which task you do, depending on what you do on your iPhone, those cores would be used accordingly. And the graphics performance is insane. It's 50% faster than on the iPhone 6s. And just take a look at this graphic. The graphical performance of the iPhone 7 is 240 times better or higher than on the iPhone, the original iPhone back in 2007. That's an unbelievable improvement. In terms of the battery life, Apple says that this is the longest battery life ever in an iPhone, which, well, kind of makes sense. The newer the model, the longer, well, it should last. But apparently with the iPhone 7, you will be getting about 2 hours extra battery life than on the iPhone 6s. And with the iPhone 7 Plus, you will be getting about an hour of extra battery life than on the iPhone 6s Plus. So yeah, here's a recap of everything in terms of the iPhone 7, all the specs, all the new features, everything. And then here's everything in terms of the iPhone 7 Plus. The same exact features, just with that larger display, the larger battery, and that dual camera module with which you would be able to zoom in 2x without losing any quality. In terms of the prices, the pricing is pretty much the same as on the iPhone 6s. Apple has also decided to keep the iPhone 6s lineup, by the way, and they also decided to bump the storage, so this is awesome. We now have 32 and 128 gigabytes on the iPhone 6s as well, and then on the iPhone 7 we have 32, 128 and 256 gigabytes. Now if you really want the new color, the new glossy black color, you would only be able to get that with 128 and the 256 gigabyte options. But yeah, this is pretty much it in terms of the iPhone 7. You will be able to pre-order the iPhone 7 on September 9th, and then shipping starts on September 16th, so basically a week after. iOS 10 releases next week on September 13th, and the new Apple AirPods will be available in October. But yeah, this was basically everything that Apple has announced today at their event. The new MacBooks and the iPads are indeed coming, but they're most likely coming only next month in October. But yeah, let me know in the comments, what was your favorite announcement, favorite feature that you've seen today at the Apple event? And also, which iPhone 7 model, in case you're getting an iPhone 7, which iPhone 7 model are you going to get? Other than that, I'll be doing more iPhone 7 coverage as soon as I get my hands on it. So definitely feel free to subscribe if you want to see that as soon as it comes out. And also make sure to enable notifications on my channel on both desktop and mobile. On mobile by simply clicking on that bell icon next to my channel so that you're notified as soon as I upload the brand new epic video. But yeah, this was pretty much it for this video. I'm Daniel, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Zen of Tech, signing out. Cheers.